All right, let's talk about something you've probably seen a million times, but never really thought about. I'm talking about that empty space, that line running down the side of your notebook page. It seems so simple, right? Well, it turns out the humble margin has a pretty wild and hidden history.
I mean, really. Have you ever just stopped and wondered why that red line is even there? It's one of those things that's just always been there. But here's the thing. It wasn't an accident. It's actually a brilliant design solution to a very, very old problem.
Now, if you're like me, you probably figured the margin is for, your teacher's notes, or maybe just to keep your handwriting from falling off the edge of the page. And yeah, we use it for bullet points and lists, but those are all modern hacks. The original reason is way older and a little bit gross, actually. It involves pests. Yup, you heard that right. That little margin started its life not as a tool for organization, but as a kind of biological shield. Think of it as a defense system designed to protect our most valuable information from being literally eaten. The best way to understand this is with this incredible phrase: the margin was a sacrificial zone. It was a part of the page that was designed to be destroyed. It was meant to be given up, to be sacrificed, to save what really mattered. So you got to picture this. Hundreds of years ago, libraries and archives weren't these perfectly clean, climate-controlled places we have today. They were often damp, dark, and had a huge pest problem. By leaving the edges of the paper blank, people created a buffer. If a hungry rat or a bookworm started nibbling away at a document, it would eat the empty margin first, leaving the actual writing, the important stuff, safe and sound in the middle. And believe me, they loved to eat it. Paper, and especially the glues used to bind books back then, were often made from things like animal skin, a real feast for a hungry rodent. So this wasn't just some small annoyance, it was a constant, serious threat to preserving human knowledge. And the margin was the first line of defense. But pest control, that's only one piece of the puzzle. To really get the full story, we have to go back even further, to the world of medieval scribes, where books were made entirely by hand and every single page was a masterpiece of careful planning. First, just think about how valuable these materials were. Long before paper was cheap and everywhere, scribes wrote on parchment, which was made from specially prepared animal skin. It was super durable, sure, but it was also unbelievably expensive. We're talking about a single handwritten book having the same value as a house. Insane, right? So here's the big question. If this stuff was literally worth a fortune, why would medieval bookmakers leave around 50% of the page completely blank, just for the margins? Why would you waste half of something so precious on empty space? Well, because it wasn't empty space at all. It was the most active, the most interactive part of the whole page. You can see the difference so clearly here. The medieval page is just buzzing with notes and drawings and ideas, while our modern notebook looks so clean and quiet. Back then, the margin was basically the internet of the page, a place for comments, for debates, for corrections. And all this writing in the margins has a name: marginelia. It could be anything. You could have a serious scholar adding a critical note about the main text, or you might have a bored scribe just doodling a weird hybrid monster in the corner to pass the time. It was a space for people to truly engage with the text. And that human element was everything. You have to remember, every single part of this was a huge amount of work, from the person who prepared the animal skin to the scribe who might only finish a couple of pages in a single day. Having a nice, wide margin also meant that if you made a mistake, you had room to correct it without having to throw out the entire incredibly expensive sheet of parchment. Okay, but this is where the story gets really mind-blowing. That huge amount of empty space, it wasn't just slapped onto the page at random. Oh no, it was meticulously, mathematically planned. Scribes and early printers used these beautiful geometric methods, like the Vandagramraph canon. It's sometimes called the secret canon because for hundreds of years, it was a technique bookmakers used to create these perfectly balanced and harmonious pages. It was like a blueprint for a beautiful reading experience. So how did it work? Well, it often resulted in this classic 2:3:4:6 ratio. The inner margin, the gutter, was the smallest because that's where the pages get bound together. The outer margin was twice as big, giving you a perfect place to rest your thumb. And the bottom margin was the biggest of all, not only because it looked good, but it kept the text safe from the oils on your hands as you held the book. Let's just sit with that for a second. The blank space that we barely even notice in old books was actually the product of some pretty sophisticated geometry. It was a hidden architecture, all designed to make the page functional and beautiful. It's literally math disguised as empty space. So we've got pests, we've got scholars arguing in the margins, and we've got secret geometry. So how did all of that history lead to the simple lined notebook you have in your backpack? Well, for that we have to jump forward to the Industrial Revolution. For centuries, every single line on a page was drawn by hand. It was a slow, difficult process. But then, in 1770, an inventor named John Tetllo patented the first machine that could rule lines on paper. This was an absolute game changer. Suddenly, lined paper was cheap, it was consistent, and it was available to everyone, paving the way for the modern notebook. And this is where it all comes full circle. The function of the margin changed, even if the basic idea stayed the same. The space that was once a sacrificial zone for rats is now where a teacher puts a grade. The space that was once for scholarly debate is now where we number our to-do lists. The tradition is still there, just adapted for our world. So the next time you open a notebook and see that red line, you'll know it's not just a line. It's like a little fossil, a record of ancient fears about rats, of the incredible cost of knowledge, and the timeless beauty of geometry, all hiding in plain sight. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday things have secret histories just waiting to be discovered?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.